You can never understand a first time bride. Like you may have had that experience once, but once you have 50, 60, 100 events under your belt, you're no longer in that mindset. You're in, I need to make this much profit. I need to pay for my team. I need to cover these things. I want to go on vacation. I'm tired. Like there's so many other factors that are going in there, and you're not necessarily in the headspace of thinking through what does this kind of client need.
Why do you think business owners often miss the mark? And I think it's really funny what you said. It's kind of this classic paradox of, the video team has a site that doesn't have any great videos on it, but they create all this beauty for
Yeah.
their clients, of course, but then their site's not that great. But so why do you think that business owners are missing the mark here, even on something that they may be in the industry on?
It's hard to know. Like so one thing is we're not our clients.
Mhm.
As much as we'd like to think like we design for them, we always design for ourselves through a lens of who we think we're designing for. And that's where the research side and even just having conversations with your clients is really understanding their needs. You can never understand a first time bride. Like you may have had that experience once, but once you have 50, 60, 100 events under your belt, you're no longer in that mindset. You're in, I need to make this much profit. I need to pay for my team. I need to cover these things. I want to go on vacation. I'm tired. Like there's so many other factors that are going in there, and you're not necessarily in the headspace of thinking through what does this kind of client need. It even applies to some of our corporate clients where they're on a very different mindset of it's not my first thing, but it's the luncheon, it's my annual conference. I know it's different now, but now it's all virtual. Like, how do I make this engaging? Like
Mhm.
those kind of things, we're not in that headspace. We're in a very different mind state. So getting into that takes a bit of work and a lot of practice. I mean, when I started out doing research, what I thought was the right way wasn't, because I placed a lot of my bias and behavior in there. And you really have to find ways of stripping yourself out of those conversations and not leading conversations to get the results you want. There's some really interesting nuances that it comes with research about asking. I know we're covering a lot of topics here,
No, it's
but
perfect.
but asking leading questions. So a lot of the times, the kind of question of, does this shirt make me look fat? That's a leading question because you're essentially asking someone to validate your question, but rather than what do you think of my shirt is an open-ended question because you're not asking them for a specific result. You're opening yourself up for potentially negative feedback or positive feedback. So you have to be ready to accept that. But it essentially allows that freedom to the person to kind of step in, and then you can see where opportunity lies rather than, do you think my website is awesome? No or yes doesn't really give you good guidance. It's, you know, I'm I would like your opinion on my website. I'm updating imagery. I need to know what kind of imagery is resonating with you. That is a really interesting opening for someone to give you feedback in.
Jordan, I love that you do this because I feel like, you talked about removing your own bias. I think as business owners, as a business owner myself, it's my baby, right? Like I have all
Oh,
the bias in the world. And so I'm here and I'm like, it can do no wrong kind of, or maybe on the complete flip side, this is terrible. This is trash. I hate this. We need to fix everything. You kind of come in as this, unbiased third party kind of objective viewer to like, no, actually these things are working. These things aren't working. This is what we should do moving forward. Have you felt, where are you located?
I'm in Toronto.
Okay. So you're in Canada.
Mhm.
There, I think, are a lot of similarities between Canada and certain parts of the US as far as
Yes.
lockdowns, but certainly massive differences. And I think that's the same actually in the US, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Huge, huge polar opposites,
Literally
100%
a state
capacity.
over, complete lockdown, like the pandemic never happened.
Exactly. Full capacity at Rangers Stadium in Texas, and here in California, we may be getting back to normal in
Yeah.
June, like June, mid-June, something like that. Have you seen a big difference in the type of voice or the type of approach that you've had to take with your clients as you're dealing with them in different places in throughout the world?
Yeah, it definitely weighs in because there's a lot of different nuances that are happening in the way that you have to market yourself in those audiences, and those markets. So there's a lot of different things. So like when it comes to weddings that I'm working on, there's full steam ahead events, and then there are ones that are like, let's just hold off because we're not really sure if we're ready to go to print yet because we don't know if we're postponing, even though it's in the summer.
Yeah.
And we don't know our final guest count, so we don't know how much to actually print. So there's lots of nuances in those conversations. All of my Toronto clients are on hold, but I have clients in New York and San Francisco and all those, and those are all over the map.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of different conversations about what that market needs. But even when you're advertising outside of the world of that, it is very market specific in how you position yourself and what those needs are, especially as you look at if you service a local market or a regional market or a national or international market, the way that you position your products and services definitely changes because you need to be able to speak the language of flexibility and travel and accommodation and different ways to comfort your clients, especially them knowing you may not be physically in the same space as them.